Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies, strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Hello, and welcome to another Giver Marketing broadcast. We come to you every Tuesday with different marketing topics. Our goal is to help you elevate your marketing, whether you're a fellow marketer, a solopreneur, an agency, or maybe you're a business owner that's looking for ways to advance your business. That's what we like to do. And not only that, we love working with those that are doing good in the world. That's kind of our favorite space to play in. We like to help highlight and draw attention to those businesses and organizations out there that are really going that extra mile to make the world a better place. So if that's you, please reach out and have a conversation with me because I would love to talk to you. Who am I? I'm Christine Deane. I am the networking diva, but more than that, I'm also team director here at Giver Marketing. And I've been doing that for years, and it's my honor to help host this podcast. And I'm excited today because it's one of my favorite topics is helping you learn how to use marketing to help your business do what it needs to do to be successful so you can help more people. And I'm excited today because I've got one of my favorite marketers in the room, and I'm just going to bring him on the stage right now. Hey, Rajiv. Welcome.
Hey. Happy to be here again.
Oh, I'm so excited. We always have the best conversations, and you always bring such a unique perspective. One of the things I love is you really bring that global, overall, big picture to things. I know we've had you come in and talk about getting listed on ChatGPT, all sorts of wonderful topics. But today, actually, you know what? Before we even get started, for those that have not met Rajiv, I heard a rumor. Didn't you get some kind of fancy-dancy award recently?
Yep, that is true. I was deeply honored and humbled to be selected to win the United Nations SDG Communication Innovation for Excellence Award.
Wow. All right. What does that mean to the rest of the world?
It means that I'm awesome and I know my shit. That's what it means.
I knew that was the case.
Yeah, but
award, right?
Yeah, but essentially, so the United Nations is founded on what's called the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 of them that are all that map out what is needed for, the betterment of humanity as it exists right now on the planet. So it covers things like, food, clothing, shelter, environment, infrastructure, power, things like that, equality, justice, education, information, enterprise, jobs, it covers like a variety of things. There's 17 of them, and essentially the award is in recognition of service towards that, because communication excellence is something that furthers the cause for organizations that are looking to kind of socialize their ideas, right? So when we're doing that, that's basically the outcome, and that's why. And because I've been doing this for such a long time, doing communication innovation, like helping Unilever get into the Guinness Book of Records, or helping organizations be seen the right way online with the various reputation management services, helping governments be positioned the right way, etc. So this is basically a why I was selected, because I've been doing this for so long, as well as I have like a very core good deeds focus. which is something that aligns very closely with the goals and the mission of the United Nations. So that's kind of like the dual benefit. It's not just, yes, I'm really good, I'm making the rich richer, I'm making like the Fortune 500 company extremely successful, which I am doing, of course. But in addition to that, there is a social impact, good deeds focus, which is what aligns very closely with the UN mission.
And that aligns really closely with the Giver Marketing Network. So on so many different levels, we're partnered up really nicely. I love that. Now, you mentioned the UN, and you always mention it while you're here. Those that haven't seen a broadcast with you before, tell them a little bit. How long have you been working with the UN? What kind of things do you do with them?
Yeah, so my partnership with the UN has started, I want to say, way back in 2019. So 2019 is when I started partnering with the United Nations, and it started by helping them put together various summits and conferences at the United Nations, given my history with world leaders and subject matter experts. Because of being a subject matter expert myself, it had allowed for me to kind of invite relevant people to bring light and illuminate these conferences. So that's what made me a reliable resource for the United Nations to help put together these conferences. So that's where it started, and then of course it kind of evolved into the opportunity to speak at the United Nations for the very first time in 2020, just before the pandemic, I might add. So I participated in the World Homelessness Summit, where the point of that summit was figuring out solutions to homelessness. Now, as all of us know, homelessness is a very complex, chronic, sometimes endemic issue that exists all around the world. It exists right here in the US as well. We're not, sort of we're not it's not something that is we're not inoculated against it. It
Yeah,
exists
we're
here.
not immune to that.
Yeah, we're not immune to that. Thank you, that's the word I was looking for, immune. So yeah, so the focus was to figure out solutions, viable solutions to solve for this issue. And my tack of solving this issue was by attacking the problem from a mindset and a coaching standpoint, because that is one of the key components to solving for homelessness. And what the background to this was the fact that I worked with at-risk youth by partnering with New York State Department of Labor to provide them on-site internships and mentorships through my company, Rsquare Media, which has a deep history in providing mentorships and internships for the last 10 plus years. In fact, our mentorship program is so famous that it attracts about 650 applications a year from all the top schools and colleges in the US, because we're partnered with the platform called Handshake that plugs us into all those top schools. So we've gotten applications and interns from all schools, including the Ivy League as well. So we've in the past gotten students from Princeton, from Yale, from Columbia University, from not Harvard yet, but we have gotten several from Cornell as well. So the point is that this is a platform where students come to realize as to who they are, what they want, how they can be better, how they can be fully realized, and also gain a purpose. So when you have purpose,
and I'm going to admit, Rajiv, that's one of the reasons why we really wanted you on the broadcast today. I know you had that experience with the mentoring and the marketing mentoring. And so I was like, oh, goodness, we got to bring him in. We're just going to ask you a ton of questions about what you've done with that and kind of use that as a jumping point, I think, for what we want to talk about, which is really how to supercharge your marketing, unlocking growth with your VAs and interns. So you are the one that I wanted to bring, because I know not only do you have experience in this with your company, but you have global experience with that. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, it is. And the thing is that actually this is, I think we're talking about a very relevant thing over here, because of our deep focus on providing that opportunity, that learning ground. So we have a very simplistic approach where our goal is to, like our promise, the reason why we're so popular with all these 650 plus students all over the place, and I will say that we attract applications from not just the US, but from outside as well, from Asia, Africa, Europe also. And the one simple promise that we make our candidates, our prospects, is that we will help you land your dream job in your dream company quickly. That is our promise to you, to give them that level of clarity. Because many people, when they go to school, they kind of school is a more generalist experience, even though it is in a specified area of study, like it's in business or it's in finance or it's in accounting or it's marketing, but it's still very broad from the standpoint of they don't know which industry that they want to enter. They don't know what role that they're going to be fulfilling when they graduate school. They don't know where to apply because they don't have an understanding or awareness or clarity of how their specific personality aligns with what role in which industry and how they will thrive. How they will be that rising star quickly, because everyone wants that. That's the American dream. It is possible if you align all these things, where if your personality perfectly aligns with a certain role in a certain industry, that is a recipe for success, and that is what makes you a rising star. If any of those aspects are misaligned, you will not be a rising star, and you will constantly be jumping from job to job to job looking for that opportunity, and unfortunately that wastes a lot of time, and that will delay your success outcome. So our solution is to kind of give students that clarity so that their very first move is the right move. And that oftentimes is the most telling, because when you make the wrong move just fresh out of college, it creates like a very negative precedent, which then puts you in a defensive position, which is not ideal when you're in interviews, because then you'll have to defend that from people saying, hey, why were you in this company only for 6 months or 3 months or 4 months? And that's a very uncomfortable question to answer, because then you'll have to say something like, oh yeah, it wasn't the right fit for me. And then they'll be like, well, what makes you think this is the right fit for you? And again, that it just kind of goes down a very negative spiral that is hard to come out of.
Yeah, I
Because
was just thinking
yeah.
as you said that, it made me think about how, your first job out of college, you're very excited, right? And then to end up with a position that really wasn't a good fit for you, you're frustrated, you don't feel good about it. How do you feel? I just spent all that time going to school, getting my degree. I spent all this time, focusing on this. And then now I hate what I do, right? That would just be horrible. Now you owe this huge school bill and you don't even like what you do, right? And that really could poison you for what you want to move forward with. I know, if you could skip that and get a position that really aligns with you, your personality, and your goals, and take the time to dive in, I think what happens is we get the idea of, I have a degree, I have to get a job. Doesn't matter what job, I just have to get a job, right? But when you skip that, is it an alignment with you process, you actually cause a lot of grief for yourself and probably your employer, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so the solution is to be like, and this may sound like a very fuzzy, unrealistic outcome, but you need to be realized, you need to have purpose, because that is directly proportional to your growth, because it's something that people are going to feel. Even if you're good at your job, but you don't really want to be there, people are going to sense that. More importantly, your manager is going to sense that, the manager's manager is going to sense that. And when it comes to appointments for who's the person that's going to go to, who's going to be promoted. So if they have a sense that you kind of don't really want to be there, you're then technically a risk. And they don't want to promote someone who potentially might just walk out and leave them for whatever reason, right? So organizations are built on stability. They're built on predictability. They want resources that are going to be predictable, where there's going to be, they want people that are going to be in there for the long haul, that are going to be there, and that they can rely on. So when your purpose aligns with your passion, and you're in the right opportunity and you're performing that reaffirms all of this, then those are the recipes for success. Those are the rising stars. Those are the people that get promoted, and those are the people that ultimately, as they say, get to partner status, maybe even name partner, but partner for sure. And that is, well, the most secure job to have, because it's very unlikely for a partner to get fired, because there's a reason why they're a partner, because they are mission critical for the organization. That's why they're a partner, not for any other reason. Everyone below them technically is doesn't have the same level of security and is replaceable. Partner, much less so, unless of course there's some, they do something that's totally grievous, that is something to do with ethics, or it's kind of like a bad look for the company, etc., etc. Outside of those exceptions, and that's kind of like where my reputational service may come into play. But that aside is where, that's like the most secure job, and that's what most job seekers are seeking for. to achieve that, to experience that, because that's what they want. That's the end goal. That's
And
what.
let's take that and let's tie that down even deeper within the marketing space itself, right? I'm just thinking about this from an aspiring marketer perspective, and then the business owner side that wants to hire them, right? And I'm just thinking from a marketing perspective, like you said, there's so many choices out there, and even marketing is such a broad space, right? So how do you decide where you're aligned with, what your area of expertise is going to be, where you want to put your emphasis and all your energy into? That's a tough call for a marketer that's starting out. And so that's where we talk about, taking some time, maybe as a starting out slow, right? Maybe it's VA, put your feet in the water a little bit, right? Or taking an intern position.
Yeah, and Christine, so you're kind of putting on, like, you're asking all the right questions, and this is literally the heart of the issue. So our approach to helping our candidates find their dream job and their dream company, yes, they're learning on the job and they understand what it takes to succeed. That's one part of it. That's the internship, day-to-day, learning on the job. The other side of it is a mentorship aspect to it, where we're essentially we're making a scorecard for them, where we're understanding key aspects of what are their what we go like really basic, like what makes them tick, what are their likes, what are their dislikes, that we start there. What do you like to do? And it's very broad. It's not just work related, it's broad, because that gives us a clue as to the kind of job that they're going to be good at, because there's something native in that job that they will enjoy, and because of that they will thrive. For example, if they like to travel, the travel is a significant component of certain jobs like consulting, because that job requires a lot of travel, especially early on in your career for the first like 5 to 7 years. A lot of travel. It could be local travel, regional travel, national or international travel. And consulting jobs could be either consulting companies like the Big Four, like PW, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst and Young, KPMG, like companies, McKinsey and Company, etc., etc. So these are all consulting companies where the consultants have to travel all over the place, and that's their job. They're road warriors essentially. Now, if you love to travel and you have a job like that, that's going to be the best job ever, because you get to see the world both nationally, regionally, and internationally as well. And it's the reason why people become a flight attendant, right? It's kind of like an easy way to see the world where you're not paying for it. You're actually being paid to facilitate travel, and you get to see the world as well, and it's a win, right? So it's one of those things where if you like to travel, you need to select a job that naturally aligns with that. So the flip side of that is, let's say if you don't like to travel, you will be you will be absolutely miserable in a job like consulting, where you have to travel like every single, like maybe multiple times a week as well, or
Yep.
every single week you're jumping on a plane, you're catching the red eye going somewhere, and like if you don't like to travel, that could be hell.
That would be
But
horrible. Yeah, my best friend used to travel a lot for work earlier in his career. Like you said, it's not unusual for the earlier in your career to be doing that. And I remember him saying there were times that I had lost my key. I went to the front desk and they said, "What's your room number?" He said, "I don't know." Because he couldn't remember, because he travels so much. No, that was the room number from the last hotel and the previous one, right?
blurs.
Talk about burnout, right? So, but if you love it, right, it doesn't burn you out, it energizes you, right?
Yes, exactly. So that is kind of like one aspect of one pillar of likes and dislikes that kind of helps inform what is the right role. Another aspect is, what are your life priorities? What are your urgencies that you want? Like, what are your dreams? We have an Excel sheet with all these columns in there, and one column is dreams, and we ask people to write down all their dreams. Like, some people dream of having their own place, having a home with a white picket fence, being a mom or being a parent, or getting married, or inviting, like taking their buying a world trip vacation for their family, because it's their way of saying thank you and giving back. And many people have this kind of need to sort of show gratitude to their parents who have been instrumental in their success, because they funded their education. Many people from Asia have that kind of background, because that's how parents are in Asia, where they're very, very focused on education, and will themselves support the student fully or in part with with the finances required to further their educational goals. And that's why, even though it's a large amount, the parent knows that it's going to pay dividends in the future. And then when the child reaches those goals and that level of success, they want to give back to the parents, either by paying back what they spend, or doing nice things for them, like inviting them on world tours, etc., etc. So the point is, where I was kind of going with this is that there's, the students are have the ability of reaching heights, being grateful and acknowledging the people that have helped them in that journey, both people like parents that have helped them potentially either emotionally or financially, or even coaches and mentors like me and you, who have filled into them or poured into them key details and insights that have given them the clarity of focus to know exactly where to set foot on, to then conquer and win in those places. So all of
I'm
this
gonna
is like very
grab that and
critical.
run with that. You talk about the importance of a mentoring role, and my background's teaching college, so mentoring is just kind of part of our ingrained in what we do, right? So I just take a look at that and I think about the possibilities and expanding that, right? So it's not just you and I, right? It's the other marketers. So if you're a marketer and you have a marketing agency, right? Maybe you're thinking, I'd like to give back too, right? Well, are you currently doing any kind of mentoring programs? Are you involved in that at all? Are you bringing any interns in and taking them under your wing? Are you bringing any VAs and helping them accelerate and learn and grow and on the job? Because we all know you learn what you learn in school. However, real life is sometimes a little bit different, right? So you need to have somebody when you're new to kind of be able to bounce things off and be able to ask questions, understand that you're learning and you're growing, and they create a safe space for you to learn, grow, get that feedback, and be ready to accelerate, right? So if you know what you want to do, you're looking at those dreams, you're right. This is all setting you up for success. So I'm going to say, if you are thinking about, maybe you're studying as a marketer, maybe you're thinking about going into that field, right? I want you to explore the idea of, maybe I need to do an intern to make sure this is really what I want to do, right? There'd be nothing worse than going through getting a degree just to find out you didn't like something.
Yeah.
Right?
In fact, I've kind of seen that story being told many times, to the point that, one of my dear friends, I won't mention his name for privacy reasons, but, he essentially, went to an Ivy League school to be a lawyer, like Yale Law, which is a very prestigious school. To go there to be accepted is like huge. And then after doing that, he realized, what, lawyer is not for me. I don't want to be a lawyer,
I've
and
seen
then
that
he
with
went.
lawyers, CPAs, doctors. Yeah, where they're like, you're a what? But you this?
Yeah, and then of course he kind of, when he was done with Yale, then went to Columbia, and went to Columbia Business School. So from one Ivy to the next. But the point is that he then obviously was able to kind of leverage what he learned from the law school and his business school, and get like a really amazing series of jobs for many years with various Fortune 500 companies that required those levels of skills. And obviously that unique combination of law and business is like a lethal combination. So it's a recipe for massive success, which of course he was able to kind of make happen. But that was obviously because he also had the opportunity of going to business school from an Ivy League as well. So he has two Ivies on his resume, which of course is, again, not something that everyone can claim. But the point I'm making here is that, you go to some place, make a massive investment of going to like a school, in this case, an Ivy League school, and realize at the end of it, oh crap, I don't want to do this. So, I mean, just think of that, right? When you're at that situation saying, I don't want to do this, what does that mean? It means that you've all got all this money that is sunk. And now what do you do with that? So do you
Right.
pivot? Do you proceed on that path because you've already made all this investment, knowing full well that you absolutely hate it? So then what do you do? It's a very uncomfortable situation to be in. So you don't need to be in that situation. The solution is to have a clarity of what you want to do. But more importantly, why? What is your why? And that's kind of like the process that we uncover, figuring out, what are your dreams, what are your tastes and habits, what are your life priorities. When you uncover what your life priorities are, that gives you a clarity as to why you're doing what you're doing. This way, there are no rude surprises. So for example, if you're very, clear, what, I want to get like six figures in my first job. I don't care what it takes. That's my goal. Okay, that's your goal. That's what you want. This means that let's say you One of the ways to do that is consulting, or one of the ways is pharma or finance or media and entertainment. If that happens to be the case, some of these industries have some realities, like maybe there are large personalities that are already present on the job, and you need to be fine with that and need to be able to kind of take that in your stride. Now, if these are some realities that obviously we let the candidate know about, so this way, then when they're making that choice, because the job provides them something that they need, like a high paycheck, or like I'll give you an example, right? Again, hopefully Goldman Sachs is not going to sue me when they see this, but Goldman Sachs for many years has been notorious as being the best paymaster in the world for people that are fresh out of college. You go there, you get a job from Goldman Sachs. If you're, it's a very, very selective, very elite. But if you get a job, you're getting six figures just out the gate as a fresher from whichever school you're in. Okay, that's the dream of most people to work at Goldman Sachs, because it's a great springboard to bigger and better things in life. Now, the problem or the challenge with that decision is that Goldman Sachs is going to pay you like crazy. But the problem is you're giving your time, as in the typical work week at Goldman Sachs is not 40 hours. It's more like 60 to 80. What that means is you're going to arrive on the job at 8 a.m. You're going to leave at 8 p.m. if you're lucky, or later. Now, you're going to be doing that rinse and repeat week on week on week on week. Now, why are people making a line to join there? Because it's very prestigious. You're paid extremely handsomely, and once you kind of like do your time, you spend like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years there. You have that stamp of, yes, Goldman Sachs. That means you're someone, and then the doors open to pretty much any organization that would love to have you, because hey, you're Goldman Sachs, which means that you're at that level. So these are like some examples of what it takes, what are the sacrifices that the candidate needs to be aware of, such that when they do get that opportunity, they don't like squander it by then realizing, oh no, my God, it's so hard here, people are so mean to me, things like that, right? So the whole point of the approach that we take is to let the candidates know the reality, the market reality of what certain choices mean, and what are you willing to put up with to further your own goal and your ambition. And if you have a clarity of it, you're going in with your eyes wide open, there's no surprises, which means that
I love that. Exactly. Right. And so within the marketing space, right. So if you're like, okay, we see them doing broadcasts. Okay. We see people doing social media posts. We see like email campaigns, and you're like, there's so many different areas. Right. So if you're looking to be an aspiring marketer, or maybe you're a kind of a solopreneur, just starting out the internship side or trying the VA side, right. That can be a great area to explore. Right. Because just where you can find out, do I like it before I'm looking for a big full-time job? You don't want to be into that really high prestigious being 12-hour days, right? And turn around and that you hate it. So this is a great way to just kind of get your foot in the door and get some experience. So if you've been thinking about that, right, this is a great time to kind of look at those opportunities. So if you're looking for those internships, right, reach out. One of the cool things about Giver Marketing is we have over 100 marketing, whether marketers, solopreneurs, whether they're agencies, right? I think we're up to almost 150 at this point. And so there's so many people in there, right? And chances are one of them would be willing to take on an intern, right? I mean, one-stop shop for it at that point, right? Yep. Rajiv's in there too, by the way. Yeah. So if that's something you're thinking about, right, and you're trying to find out if this is a good fit, right, you want to be in that environment where you've got professional marketers that can help nurture you along, right, give you opportunities. You can say, I know when I work with my interns, I say, I really wanted to learn more about. I'm like, okay, then that's where we're going to go, right? I have the flexibility of being able to move them around, right? If it's broadcast that you're interested in, then, we team you up with somebody that's doing broadcast as one of their major areas, right? There's so many possibilities, and it kind of gives you, think of it as like the sampler plate at at the restaurant. You're not quite sure what you want. You get the sampler plate for the appetizer and you get a little bite of everything. Internship is a great way to do that. It always looks good on your resume that you did an internship, right? Whoever you worked with is going to write you a wonderful letter of recommendation to take with you. And this way you don't have to look like, well, why did you leave so soon? Why were you only there 6 months? Well, it was an internship. That's when it lasted. Oh, okay. Right. Easy, simple way to get your foot in the door, put it on your resume, get that reference and have it look good, not be a problem. Right.
Exactly. And Christine, if I can add to kind of like my little illustration from earlier. So this is actually a true story that I'm mentioning, where one of our interns, she came in from Carnegie Mellon, and she kind of went through the program. We have a global remote mentorship program. So she started the internship in Pittsburgh because that's where Carnegie Mellon is. Then she moved to Manhattan for another internship. Then from there, she moved to India for another internship from one of the IITs. IIT stands for Indian Institute of Technology. It's in the same level as MIT, and there are like 12 of them in India. So she did one of them there, and then she kind of came back to kind of continue her internship. So she did a lot of moving around. But the point is, at the end of the day, like on one Wednesday afternoon, I suddenly get a call and she says, Rajiv, oh my God, I'm so confused. What do I do? I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on. And then she says, oh my God, I've got these two offers, but I just don't know what to do. I'm at the crossroads. Help me. I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on. She says, okay. So I had this great interview with Goldman Sachs, and they made me an offer, and I'm like intrigued. And then I also got this other, amazing offer from Microsoft. So what do I do? And again, now Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, two amazing companies, great career paths in both. And then this candidate has an offer from both. Now, what do? If she makes the right move, her life is going to be amazing. If she makes the wrong move, she's going to be miserable, albeit paid really well, but miserable. And that's important, right? So part of our, internship approach is really understanding the candidate, understanding their personality. That's why I mentioned very early on what is their personality type. What are their tastes, habits, preferences? What are their likes? What are their dreams? What are their aspirations? All these things are key components that inform their decisions and their choices. And we as a company, we're very chill, laid back kind of a company where we have a division called the Innovation Lab where all the interns come in and they innovate. That's the whole point of it, innovation. So I knew that she was chill, laid back. That's our personality. That's the kind of people we attract. And I recommended to her that she accept the offer from Microsoft, which she did. And then she got hired immediately, soared. She was a rising star. She even got featured in local, like national press in India, where she said that she made the right decision at the most critical point of her life, which I was a party to. And because of that, her life was totally changed. And because she needed that level of clarity and confidence to take that right step, which obviously Rsquare Media and Rajiv gave to her. And that's what, caused her life to take like a totally different shape. And that is essentially the story or the example of what it takes. Like, what is the benefit of doing an internship? It gives the clarity, you can make the right moves. And our approach also helps candidates to apply to jobs in a very compelling way so that they get these kind of offers, like Goldman Sachs or Microsoft or Disney or ABC. We've got candidates in all of these places, all the best names you can think of, HBO, Nike, etc., etc. So the point is, the world is your oyster if you see it as such, and one path to get there is to do an internship, which is the gospel that Christine has been saying this entire time. So I just hope that whoever's listening to this, watching this, gets that message. Do an internship. It is a great way to discover who you are, what you're about, what you like, what makes you tick, and also potentially to help you make the right move and furthering realizing your dreams so that you can be super duper successful, because that's the whole goal of life, right? To be successful, make your parents proud, be proud of yourself.
Now I'm going to grab that and I'm going to run with it. And I'm going to say, not only can you work with marketing professionals, marketing agencies, but also think about working with business owners, right? So from a business owner perspective, you might be going, VAs, what? Interns, but are they going to be good? Well, this is where it sometimes helps to have somebody come in. It's kind of the best of both worlds, right? If maybe you don't have a full-time marketing person, maybe you don't have a whole CMO spot, right? And that's okay. Maybe you don't have that in your budget yet as a growing business, but maybe you want to have a fractional one. Right. So we've got some really experienced, fantastic fractional CMOs, chief marketing officers within Giver Marketing. Right. So you can have somebody who kind of supervises your VAs and your interns and helps guide them to that path. Right. So they can help mentor your team of VAs in order to help achieve your business goals. Right. And so a lot of times we can step in and kind of project manage that. right? This way they have the learning curve. So if you have the need to give back, you want to make that opportunity for them to kind of be mentored in business a little bit while they're working with you. You want to help them accelerate and grow their skill sets, right? It helps to have somebody else come in that kind of can help oversee that, right? On a fractional basis. It makes sense to have your VAs. You can go, well, I could just get a VA. You can. Right. But a lot of times they don't necessarily have the same kind of experience, and your interns probably don't have the same kind of experience. Right. Sometimes it helps to have somebody kind of give them a hand and walk them through the steps and the expectations. Like we said, studying is one thing, actual world experience is another. I know, and you're like, oh, but I can do it all with AI. Well, once again, you're only work as far as your experience, because we all know AI has to be double checked. Right. So you look and you go, oh, no, that's not exactly right. But then you need someone else who can take a look at it and tell you what best practices are. Just because it told you that doesn't mean it's true. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever asked it for help with an email and you're like, ooh, that's pitchy. Boy, that's a tough sales pitch. Boy, I think they just did sales vomit all over me, right? So going back in and saying, okay, can you do this a little different and make it more about building relationships instead of hard sells, right? You have to know to be able to give those prompts in there, right? So you want somebody that can kind of come in and help oversee that. Right. So you can save a lot of money, sure, by bringing in interns and bringing in VAs to kind of help with your business and take some of that off your plate. But you're probably going to want somebody to kind of oversee it. And if marketing's not your area of specialty as a business owner, you might want someone else to give you a hand with that. And that's absolutely something that's available. And whether you go with Giver Marketing or another organization, but we have access to people that know what they're doing. It's amazing how that works, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Giver marketing is amazing. It's a collection of like-minded, purpose-driven, people that are truly, generous. Hence the name Giver. So I would highly recommend for everyone who is watching this, on both sides of this. That is both a marketer who is potentially wanting to find a collective of people that share their ideals. Then I definitely recommend that you give Giver marketing a chance. Consider joining Giver Marketing. So that's one, takeaway from this. Another takeaway is if you're a young professional that is either in school at the moment or either applying to school, or you've just recently graduated and you're doing something that you feel you're meant to do something more, better, higher, greater, then doing an internship could be a great pathway for you to discover what that could be. And in that case, certainly reach out to Christine or myself, and we'll be happy to kind of point you in the right direction to help you figure out some great internship or mentorship opportunities so that you can benefit and kind of, let's say, course correct your life so that there's no reason to be miserable. Misery is a choice. So it's up to you to course correct. All the information is out there. And the whole point of this broadcast is to give you the information, the guidance to help you course correct if you would benefit from that.
Right. And as a business owner, right, your to-do list just keeps growing, right? And that's a hard step, I think, for entrepreneurs and business owners going from kind of a solopreneurship into a larger business. You can't expand, you can't grow, you can't scale, you can't none of that unless you're willing to bring more people on your team. It's inevitable. Right. At some point, you're going to have to grow. So how are you going to do that? How can you do it in a way that's cost effective? How can you do it in a way that makes sense for your business? And that's where a lot of times those stepping in, bringing in those VAs and those interns, right? Figuring out what kinds of things can I outsource? What kind of things can I have them take care of for me that I can take off of my plate? When you look at business owners, you ask them, how many hours a day do you work? You can always tell that more the startups or the ones that are having a hard time letting go of hands-on, right? Because they're the ones that are working, 12, 15-hour days. Right. And a lot of times, if you're putting in long hours like that, it's probably time to bring somebody into your business to outsource some of that stuff that you're not wanting to do. VAs are a great way to do that, but you're going to want somebody to supervise. Right. One of my clients does insurance. And so he's like, all right, I've got my interns. Right. And this is what they want to do. He's like, can you give them a hand? Sure. And so we get together. They've got a project. Right. So sometimes it's project based and they're just learning as they go. So we're going to do an email campaign. Okay. So we talk about best practices practices. They bring it to the table. We talk about changes, right? Why this works, why this might not work. Do we have any ideas, right? It's a whole learning process, right? But they've also taken that off my plate, because if I was the only one doing it, then I would have had to do it all by myself, right? It takes a little bit more time to mentor, but it's worth it because they're learning and growing. And the more they learn and grow, the more you can step back and say, okay, they got this. I don't need to micromanage that, right? So it's kind of like, it's like that anything, right? It's time intensive to start with, but at the end, it ends up being a time saver, right? If you invest the time in beginning to do the training. So it's definitely worth exploring. If you have not had anybody else and you're a solopreneur and you're thinking, man, I don't know. That's a lot of control to give up. It's okay. It's okay. If it doesn't work out, right? That's the whole idea of supervising. This way you can make sure it doesn't do any major damage to your reputation or business, right? But you got to understand they're not going to be perfect. It's okay. Just supervise, learn, grow, and creating that safe space for everybody. If the ultimate goal is for you to do better in your business and grow your business so that you can hire people full time to help work with you or your contract work, right? And their goal is to learn and grow, right? Those great combination right there together, on how everybody wants to do better. So there's opportunities, right? Whether you're a business owner looking for help, whether you're a aspiring marketer looking for experience, or maybe you're a solopreneur, because this whole journey, the marketing journey, right? Whether you're the business owner or whether you're the marketer, there's a whole process for learning and growing. I love Rajiv's mentoring process there of getting us to think and be in the right mindset, right? And then the steps it takes to get there. And you think about, if you're a solopreneur and if you're in the marketing space, you don't have to be alone. Don't be a lonelypreneur, as we like to say, right? With Giver Marketing, we have just a wonderful, warm group of marketers. And we love to love on each other, help each other, mentor. And so if you're in that space and you're thinking, okay, part of being a solopreneur is a lot of times you haven't really created a business. You've created a job for yourself. You happen to be your own boss. Your clients are your boss, right? But if you want to grow, right? One of the things that we're working on right now at Giver Marketing is what we call our team leaders. Team leaders, think of it as kind of like instant agency, right? You're in a position where you want to have a team. So you can actually create a team within Giver Marketing so that you can bring in projects and have a complete team to help you fill that out, right? It might have solopreneurs on it. It might have agencies on it. It might have interns in there, right? Depending on who it is that you need to help get those projects done. But learning how to move from a solopreneur role to a team leader role, there's a learning curve there, right? And that's a rough one to try and do on your own. So if you're a solopreneur right now in marketing, you want to make that transition into more of an agency level. You want to take on those larger projects. You want to have a team to work with you. Giver Marketing is a great playground for that. And we're working on an official training right now to help solopreneurs go from solopreneurship to team leaders. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to reach out to us. We're literally creating those courses right now. So if you'd like to get access to all that, reach out and let me know. And I would be happy to let you know when that's available and ready to roll. I'm going to go ahead and drop my content. Let's see. This is my LinkedIn link. It's going in the chat right now. So we're going to say, reach out to me, Christine Deane, and I want you to give me a holler if that's something you're interested in. So if you're a solopreneur looking to expand and you want to go and say, okay, I want to become an agency, or I want to take larger projects on, but I don't have a team, all that kind of stuff, this is a great place to come play with us, okay? If you're an agency and you're like, oh man, I really would like to have some more contract work, but not necessarily full-time employees, right? Great place to come hang out. So I'm going to drop that in the chat. So here it comes. All right. So reach out and connect with me. I would love to talk to you about that. Now, Rajiv, you're doing this amazing mentorship, right? So if you are a solopreneur, if you are an intern or VA in that space and you're thinking, I think I want to keep working on that, right? Reach out to me or reach out to Rajiv. I bet you he's got details for his mentorship program that he could share with you. Right, we have all sorts of possibilities. So I'm going to reach out to Rajiv And that's going to go out. And here it comes. Give or take. Typos. Hold on. All right. We spelled your name right. Here we go. And here it goes. All right. So click on that one. Friend up with Rajiv on LinkedIn. Also, it's one of our favorite playgrounds to go play. It's a nice place for professionals to hang out and gather. So we have lots of fun things going on. I want to just encourage everybody to reach out. If this sounds like your space and where you're kind of people, let's get a few friends. Let's hold hands and sing together, whatever it is.
Yeah, and Christine, if I can make one small closing thought. So,
Absolutely.
having hiring a VA or having an intern, this is like technically good for business. Let me illustrate how. So essentially, when you have people working for you, they can essentially, assuming they've had a great experience with your organization, they can essentially post you a 5-star review on Glassdoor. By doing so, it portrays your organization has a great place to work. So the thing is, the reality is that most large organizations are very poorly rated on Glassdoor. They're like 1-star, 2-star rated on Glassdoor. This is an opportunity for you as a smaller marketing entity to show up in a very powerful way by having like multiple 5-star ratings on Glassdoor, which is almost like saying that despite you're small, but you're a great place to work, which is great validation for you as a professional, your leadership, your authenticity, your credibility. Because when people it's all peer reviewed, right? So when everyone is saying that you're a great place to work, it means you're a good organization, which then means that you produce a great product, which means you're effective at what it is that you're doing. So if you just look at the entire narrative from a reputational standpoint, it's a great look. So doing good is actually a great benefit in this way as well. So think about it. A 5-star rating on Glassdoor is something that this will help you to accomplish. And if you haven't thought about it yet, please think about it. It's a very, very powerful aspect to doing good business in the world.
And didn't we know Rajiv was going to bring that reputation management to the table? I love how you bring in that bigger perspective. And really, we have opportunities, right? It's whether or not, like you said, happiness is a choice, right? You want to be miserable, you want to be happy. Do you like what you do? Do you not like what you do? Do you want to explore a different career option? If you want to explore marketing, this is your opportunity to reach out and let us know, right? There are opportunities every day, and we have to make choices, right? So choose to be happy, choose to do you, choose to play in your zone of genius and what your dreams are. And we want to help make that happen. So reach out to us, Rajiv. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom. I really want to keep exploring your mentoring program. There's going to be some elements of that, I'm sure, that we're going to want to bring into Giver Marketing. So we're blessed to have you with us. And I'm Christine Deane, Team Director for Giver Marketing, and we're signing off. We will see you tomorrow is networking for marketers. So don't be a lonelypreneur. Come hang out with us. There's an opportunity every Wednesday. We meet 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern, which is 10 a.m. Texas, which is me. Just saying. I'm going to put that up on the screen. You want to go to givermarketing.com/networking, and that will put you in the room with me and some really cool, fun marketing people. So come hang out with us, and then we will be back next week for the Tuesday marketing broadcast. If you are a marketer and you're like, I want to hang out with those people, they're kind of cool, that's great. Reach out, let us know. Maybe we'll get you on the broadcast. Let's have some fun together. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Rajiv.